again, the book of Persuasion, how you can change people's minds and influence their decisions while building trust. And yes, it is not manipulation, okay? It is not manipulation. I cannot tell you, Mr. Paul, how many people have come to me and they've just read the title of the book and they're just like, I don't know if I want to read this. This doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't feel right. And I said to them, you need to listen to Mr. Paul du Toit, who's behind this book. And so this conversation is not just for me. It's for those few skeptics that are saying that this book, I'm not too in alignment with where the book is going. For those who are not familiar with your work, you are a speaker. You have coached a number of people. You've spoken on various platforms. One we're going to talk about tonight that I'm really excited to explore. Let's just give an overview of the book.
So the thing that really caps it is the end of the subtitle, which is while building trust.
Yes.
So what we're really looking at is persuasion sounds like quite an aggressive thing, but it's quite a gentle thing, really.
Sure.
Because you're attempting to simply get people to maybe think differently about something small. Now, the word influence is probably a lot more powerful. And persuasion and influence, in a sense, go hand in hand.
Yeah.
But what we're trying to do is to impart skills. In other words, persuasion skills, which are really the basic communication skills in getting people to think differently. And the core thing really is that when we approach somebody and we ask them something and they say no, we kind of think, well, that's it, it's over. But it's not over, because you can change their minds.
Sure.
Without manipulation.
Yeah, and this is what this book serves to do.
Very much so.
Speaking about being able to speak to people and have them agree with you, you did that between the last time I saw you and now. Tell us more. The Reserve Bank, you said?
Yeah, so the Reserve Bank asked me to come in and do some presentation skills for them.
Yeah.
And we had a wonderful program, really amazing people. And I thought to myself, well, these guys are so bright, I'm not quite sure if I'll be able to teach them anything. And I came out and I got an approval rating of 98.5%. So I was very chuffed with that.
I mean,
but we had such a wonderful 2 days. It was vibrant because we get them to do things practically. They get up, they deliver a presentation, I film it, I play it back to them, and they're kind of, wow, is that me? Is that what I do when I get up and present? So it's the practical thing that really gets them between the eyes when they think, oh, okay, so now I can see what I need to change and what I need to do differently and what have you. And the technique is I ask them to give feedback on what they did.
Yeah.
And then as the facilitator, I'll just fill in a few gaps that they may not have seen. But what I really look for is positive as well as possibly the negative feedback. But the way we couch the negative feedback is to say, let's not call it things I did wrong. Let's talk about learning or improvement opportunities.
Yeah.
A much better way of putting it.
Sure. And how much does persuasion factor into presentation skills?
Well, it's a huge thing, because ultimately, if you're delivering a presentation, the whole objective is to get people to do something. Now, often that involves changing their minds.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest failures I see with most people delivering presentations is that they fail to call for action at the end. Now, this implies that presentations are only sales presentations, but that's not necessarily true. Whatever you're presenting about, you're at least trying to get a change in thought or to convince them to your way of thinking. Even if it's something totally unsalesy, like presenting a white paper, you're still trying to present your findings to people and get them to agree with you, whatever it is. So persuasion, whether it's hard persuasion or soft persuasion, is still a critical skill for anybody. And it doesn't matter whether you're in business, whether you're a university lecturer, whether you're a mom and dad, whether you're in the playground trying to get your mates to do what you want them to do.
The voice there of Paul du Toit, who is a speaker and the author behind the book of Persuasion, how you can change people's minds and influence their decisions while building trust. We are in part 4.
We are.
And the first pointer that you put out is how we should tell a story. Now, facts are great, but they don't last long mentally. Why is this the case?
Okay, so I think firstly, part 4 is about persuasion techniques.
Aha.
So let's just go to the pastor in a church. Now, if he wants to get he or she wants to get a message across, the most effective way to do that is not just give them facts. It's to create a parable or to tell a parable. And by telling the parable, you take people on a journey and you get them to envisage something in their minds, a story. Now, let's just think back quickly about when we were children. What was the thing that we looked forward to the most? Our parents telling us a story before we go to sleep.
Yeah,
and my daughters were, I could not get away with it. No, there's no time for it. No, Daddy, you've got to tell me a story. And then they'd try and pull us, you finish the story and then it would be, oh, but I want another story. So sometimes you had to tell them 2 stories. And then eventually you said, no, look, the deal was a story and you got an extra story, now you must. But they were absolutely addicted to stories. Now, if you think it's any different with adults, it's not. Why do we read newspapers? Because we want to read the stories.
Sure.
Newspapers have stories in them. They're full of stories. So it doesn't matter what age you are, we're addicted to stories. Now, the point with stories, which is quite amazing, is if you just give the data and you say, well, this boat capsized and 78 people lost their lives, that doesn't get you. That's data.
Yeah.
But if I had to say to you, the boat capsized and this man of 40 years old saw this little girl of 5 in the water. He grabbed her, he found a piece of driftwood, he put her on the driftwood, and he gently waded to shore with her for 19 hours in really cold water. And the way he kept her awake is that he told her stories and nursery rhymes, and he kept her engaged and he kept her awake. And miraculously and astonishingly, they managed to get to shore, and he kept her alive. Now, don't tell me that story didn't grab you.
It absolutely did.
Much more than the data.
Yeah.
So if you want to get people to go along with you, tell them a story.
Sure. The voice there of Paul du Toit, the author of the book of Persuasion, How You Can Change People's Minds and Influence Their Decisions While Building Trust. And we're looking at techniques this evening, persuasion techniques. And this is in part 4 of the book. If you have questions, do find us on WhatsApp, +27 83 288 6684. Quick breather for now.
Be inspired. Stay informed. Channel Africa, the beauty of life. Now available anytime, anywhere with our new app. Channel Africa is evolving, and so are you. Stay connected wherever you are with our brand new website and mobile app. Stream your favorite shows, catch up on African news, culture, and conversations, all at your fingertips.
Africa is just a tap away.
Your world, your stories, now on the go.
Stay connected wherever you are.
Visit channelafrica.co.za or download the Channel Africa app today. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa Speaks on African Diaries with Shéila Ndikumana.
It is 20 minutes after 11 p.m. Central Africa time. If you've just joined us, thank you so much for choosing us over the rest. If not, tell your friends to tell their friends, and everybody else. Find us on channelafrica.co.za on the mobile app as well. Channel Africa. We are in conversation with Paul du Toit, who is the author of the book of Persuasion, among many other things. But we're focusing on the book this evening, and this book is dubbed the Book of Persuasion, How You Can Change People's Minds and Influence Their Decisions While Building Trust. We're talking about telling a story and how the essentially the nuances of the story grip you, and that's what makes you remember the facts of the story.
We love stories.
I want to talk about saying yes. How do I get you to say yes amidst me telling you a story?
Well, the trick really is to get people into a rhythm of saying the same thing. So ultimately, let's say that you want the person to say yes to you in the end.
Yeah.
You get them into the habit of saying yes a few times before you ask the main question. So I had an instance a little while back where I had an interview with the CEO, and then he invited me to come and pitch what I wanted to sell to them to his management team.
Okay.
So when I arrived, he wanted to know if I'd like some water or if I'd like something to drink. So I said, I'd like some water, please. Now, the fact of the matter is, I didn't really need any water because I just had a sip of water in my car. But I was getting him to obey my instructions.
Oh, wow.
So he himself went and got me this bottle of water, and I thanked him, and I unscrewed, and I took a little sip of it and what have you. I was getting him to say yes to me, and I was training him so that when I asked the main question, the yes would come out.
That is very interesting.
Yeah.
And so the process of saying yes isn't necessarily about the story. It's about them experiencing you from the onset.
Yes, but you're almost getting them into a rhythm of agreeing to what you want.
Yeah.
So that when you want them to say yes at the important part, then finally they've just been saying yes all the time, so they just keep saying yes. But you can flip it around with no.
Okay.
Now, the reason that that's quite important is that it is easier for the human brain to just say no than it is to say yes, because there's less risk involved.
Yes.
So you might start off by saying something like, is this a bad time to talk about so-and-so? And I say, no. And you say, and, you wouldn't really want to see this and this and this happening, would you? And they say, no. And you say, okay, so is there anything stopping us from signing the contract now? No. Well, they've been saying no all the way along. So, but the problem is if you get them to say no and then yes and then no, there's no pattern. So they then are thinking about their response, whereas what you want to do is to get them into a rhythm of agreeing with you. So whether it's yes or no, but you need to pick a lane.
That falls back to heuristics, right?
Yes, it does, in a sense.
Wow, that is so impressive. So whatever pattern it is you want them to follow has to be something that they approve of as well, because you didn't need the water, but you took it on the basis that you wanted to establish that pattern.
Well, it was also something was offered. Now, if you reject something that's offered, you're immediately creating a bit of a barrier. No, don't worry. Now, barrier number one.
Yeah.
And then the next thing is they come up with a barrier, and then there's another barrier, and so what you're really wanting to do is to be agreeable, but also be ready for something that is not in flow with the pattern that you're trying to create, so that you might then still agree with them, but then lead them in a different direction subtly rather than pushing them back. Now, the whole thing about pushing back is that if you push against somebody, what are they going to do? They're going to push back at you.
Yeah.
But if you then withdraw your hand, they're going to start coming towards you.
Yeah.
So the whole idea is don't keep going up against people and challenging them. Find a way to gently lead them in the direction that you want them to go.
Yeah.
Now, you can argue that that's manipulation, and sometimes it is. But the whole idea is that I can't get people to necessarily only use persuasion for good.
Yeah.
Persuasion is a technique. If you choose to use it for good, that's a great thing. But you should obviously not use it to manipulate people.
Absolutely. I want to talk about contrast.
Contrast.
How does contrast play its role when you, because the examples you made were very much, I thought of sales,
Yeah.
right? You don't want this, so opt for that, That's how I saw it.
So a good example of contrast in a speech is when Kennedy, when he wanted to recruit people to the war, he said, don't think what your country can do for you, think what you can do for your country. Now that's a way of using contrast in order to persuade. So you're actually flipping it around. Another great example was the Reverend Jesse Jackson was going for the Democratic nomination for president.
Yeah.
And when it became clear to him that he just wasn't going to get enough votes, and that George Dukakis, who was basically a Greek American, his parents were Greek immigrants, was getting a lot more votes than him, he decided to throw his lot in with Dukakis, and he stood up there and he did a speech in support of Dukakis, whom he was opposing the week earlier. And one of the most memorable sound bites from his speech was he said, his parents came to America on immigrant ships. My parents came to America on slave ships. But no matter what ships they were, we're in the same boat tonight. Now, I mean, that is a wonderful way of using contrast.
What?
In order to get your message across. And look at how powerful it is.
Sure. I mean, I was gripped by that for a second there.
Yeah.
I want us to talk about, you address a decoy system.
Yes.
The 1, 2, 3 decoy system.
Yeah.
Explain it to me.
All right, well, let's just use a very simple example. So your son is 11 years old, and his job is to take the garbage out. And he should have taken the garbage out before he went to school, but he didn't, because he's a naughty boy. So when he comes back from school at 3 o'clock, he's already been to soccer practice. Now he's come home and he wants to quickly grab something to eat. Now, you can approach him and say, Johnny, why didn't you take out the garbage? Take it out now. Oh, Ma, but I've got stuff on it. That's not a very good move, because he's going to immediately oppose you.
Yeah.
So how about trying a different method? Let's try the 1, 2, 3 decoy method. So you say to him, hey, Johnny, how was soccer practice? And he says, no, it was lekker, Mom. I almost scored a goal. Oh, fantastic. And what are your plans for the next hour or so? Mom, well, the guys are waiting. I just want to grab something to eat, and we're going to go and practice a bit more soccer on the field. So that's great. Before you go, won't you just take out the garbage like you should have done this morning? Yeah, okay, Mom. So you've actually got him on your side by asking two things that were of interest, and showed interest in what he was doing. Now, you can hardly turn around and be obnoxious after you've shown such an interest in what his day's been like. So we call that the 1, 2, 3 decoy method. So the first two were to kind of just soften him up a little bit. And then the third one, bang, you ask him the real question that you want him to do. And there's far better chance that he'll take out the garbage. It's not guaranteed. It might not work, but it's got a far better chance of working because you used some kind of decoy.
Yeah. I want to address the last question, right? So won't you take out the garbage?
Yeah.
If you just stopped there and and didn't address the fact that it was supposed to be done this morning.
Well, that might be better.
Yeah?
Quite right.
Aha, I see. Let's talk about persuasion by proxy. What's that?
Okay, so a proxy is getting somebody else to do it for you. And one of the examples that I briefly refer to in the book is when you look at rhino poaching. Now, when most South Africans hear about rhino poaching, we get really angry because this is our wildlife that's being killed for some spurious thing about that the rhino horn is going to help people be more virile and all sorts of nonsense, which is complete nonsense. But the point is there's a market for rhino horn in Asia.
Yeah.
So what do? They get poor people from neighboring villages. A lot of them are in Mozambique, like desperately poor people, and they get paid money to go out and kill the rhino. Now, there are several layers between the rhino poachers and the guys that are actually making the real money from exporting the rhino horn.
Yeah.
So they are getting, quite a few of these poachers are getting caught. Okay, and they're getting tried and what have you, and they get a fine or they get put in prison for 9 months or something like that, and they get let out again. The real guys that are paying them to do it never get touched because they've got too many layers before. So what's happening is that they are persuading by proxy. They are getting somebody else to do the dirty work. Now, in the political situation right now, we are looking at strikes happening on Iran. But what Iran is doing in retaliation is it's striking Bahrain, Dubai, Qatar. These are seen as American proxies, whereas Iran has had its own proxies in the area. So it's all a political game whereby you get somebody else. So, for instance, Hezbollah are looked at as an Iranian, and the Houthis are looked at as an Iranian proxies. So it allows somebody else to do the dirty work while you kind of stand back and pretend it wasn't you. And that's persuasion by proxy. You can pretty much say that a lot of the time it's manipulation, but nobody would do something unless there's something in it. So if you look, for instance, at drug mules that get caught, they get terrible sentences. They get locked up for 15 years and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But all that's happening is that the real drug dealers are getting the drug mules to do it. They're finding people that are desperate for money, that will do anything on the basis that, let me take a chance because I probably won't get caught. And then, of course, there are sniffer dogs around and they do get caught. And now suddenly the poor parents have got to try and get diplomatic conversations going to get their kids back. And it's terrible. That is persuasion, or if you like, manipulation by proxy.
Is there a good version of this proxy practice?
I'm sure there is. You can. I mean, it's simply a principle. So you can get anybody to do anything. I mean, if you get your. I remember my parents used to get us to go down to the cafe and buy bread and milk and cigarettes for them, which in those days, it was so long ago, they used to just sell it to kids. Now, of course, they started to ask questions and what have you. But that's kind of getting your stuff by proxy, getting your kids to go and do it.
That's fair. The voice there of Paul du Toit, speaker, renowned speaker, need I add, as well as the author of the book of Persuasion, How You Can Change People's Minds and Influence Their Decisions While Building Trust. If you want to send through your questions, find us on WhatsApp, +278 288 6684. Let's talk about authority.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You say in the book that we are hardwired to obey authority.
Yeah, we are.
It doesn't feel like it, though, when we look at the world around us.
Well, hang on a moment. When you're a teenager, you are hardwired to rebel against authority because you're actually flexing your muscles and trying to show that you can make decisions. And it's particularly strong in a teenager, but it's like that in kids as well because they want to prove that they can do things. But generally, if you look at the old family system, so human beings, let's just remember that 10,000 years ago, 10 or 12,000 years ago, we were organized, Homo sapiens as such, or our forebears, were organized in clans of between 50 and 150 people.
Yeah.
And generally, you'd have a chief who was in charge. Now, if the chief said, and the chief was in charge because it was usually a him. He was usually bigger and stronger, and he'd earned the right to be the chief. Now, your whole survival in the clan was guaranteed by cooperation and by doing your thing. And if the chief wanted to punish you or he wanted to ostracize you, he could actually kick you out of the clan. So we learned to obey authority.
Yeah.
And there have been various studies in that have shown how powerful authority is. And it's like that in many nations. Now, generally, in your historic African culture, you get taught that whatever the chief says, you don't question it, you just do it. In many of the Asian cultures, you don't question authority, you just go ahead whether you agree with it or not.
Yeah.
So authority is incredibly powerful. And if somebody in authority tells you to do something, you normally go along with it. I'll give you a great example. When we had the cricketing scandal, the bribery scandals where there was ball tampering and what have you, and there was betting, and Hansi Cronje was involved. Now they questioned one of the newer caps in the Proteas cricket team, and they said, "Well, why did you go ahead and accept a bribe?" He said, "Well, he was told by the captain to do it, and he just got his first few caps." And he said, if the captain said he should do it, well, who was he to argue? It must be okay.
Yeah.
But yet, that particular cricketer, I'm not going to name him, but he went against his own moral code because somebody in authority said he should do something. And that is how powerful authority is. We will go against our own moral code. Now, I'm not going to go into this in detail now, but in the book I talk about the Milgram experiment, which is a benchmark of authority studies, where they actually got, in a simulated situation, they got people to administer electric shocks to people if they gave the wrong answer. And these people would scream out in pain, but actually it was just a fake. They were just pretending to scream out in pain. But these guys continued to administer the shocks because the authority in the white coat with the clipboard told them to do it. So authority is immensely powerful. So the point is, if you are in authority, you should be using that authority in a in a responsible way, because you have amazing power.
Sure. I want to talk about an experiment I saw where they filled people up who were writing a test in this room, and there were some paid actors.
Yeah.
And so the actors, they released a gas that turned the room dark, but the paid actors pretended like nothing happened. So
Yeah.
they just kept on scribing, right? And while people were choking, they decided not to show signs of a struggle and just continue to scribe because these paid actors were acting like nothing happened.
Like nothing had happened.
Is that a form of authority in a sense?
Well, I guess it is. I mean, there are all sorts of ways that you can trick people to do things.
Yeah.
There was one where these people had been at a party, and they'd at a very rich guy's place, and they'd had so much alcohol, and eventually they passed out. So they put them in a special room, which had been furnished upside down.
Oh, no.
So that when these guys woke up,
No.
they woke up and they opened their eyes, and it looked like they were on the ceiling.
Oh, no.
And I mean, it just, and they were already a bit hungover, so you can imagine how they would have felt. Now, that's a form of using authority to trick people as well, and very funny.
I think let's end off with charisma.
Well, charisma is a lovely topic.
For somebody who's listening and has confused charisma, let's define charisma. What is charisma?
Yeah, so charisma is the ability to persuade using charm and influence, and it's a very, very powerful method of being able to get people to go along with you and just believe in you. Now, you look at some of the people in history and in recent history, and in the book I've actually picked 14 examples. 6 of them are women and 8 of them are men who have had incredible charisma, but they are from completely different disciplines.
Yes.
So I've got a boxer there, and we've got someone like Gandhi, and we've got 1 or 2 politicians like Mandela, and then you've got billionaires like Richard Branson, and we've even got Taylor Swift there, a pop star, who's filled bigger stadiums or more stadiums than any other pop star in recent times. In fact, she wields such power that she can get Apple to change their policy because she threatens to withdraw her songs from their platform. That is how much charisma she's got, which is incredible. So we find that there are some people that just manage to get the edge on charisma to such an extent that they become icons in the world.
Yeah. Well, one such a figure is Richard Branson. I do not understand how he convinced people to invest in him when he had nothing to go by.
Okay, so Branson, there's a couple of interesting things about Richard Branson. So I read his earlier book, Losing My Virginity.
Yeah.
And what some people don't know is that Branson is dyslexic, for starters. And the other interesting thing was that he was quite a brilliant school footballer. And on one particular game, he fell quite awkwardly and smashed his knee. And he was out of football for something like 9 months or something, and had to give up playing football. But he just had incredible natural kind of charisma. So he started Virgin Records. He managed to sign up some very interesting acts, amongst them the Sex Pistols, who were totally like off the charts in those days, if you could put it that. He got Phil Collins. I think Mike Oldfield was part of the Virgin Records. But it was always a struggle, having to borrow money and what have you. And he got going with Virgin Airlines, and he got to a crossroads eventually where Virgin Records was rather profitable, but his airline was on the verge of going under. And he made this decision to sell Virgin Records in order to bankroll Virgin Airlines, and it was the best decision that he could have made, because in the end his fortune within a period of 10 years increased by 100 times.
Sure.
So and I mean, Branson is extraordinary. He looks at something like 12 business proposals a week to start off small businesses, which he looks at. He rejects most of them, but if something has merit, he will go for it. He's also used publicity in order to increase his profile. He's done some really extraordinary things, like try and fly over the Atlantic Ocean solo and what have you. He's quite a character, is Branson.
He is. He absolutely is.
I mean, that's real charisma.
Exactly. I think I read his book when I was in grade 8, 9.
Yeah.
It's a book I read by him. And I, in my mind, could not understand what he was saying to the people so that they would invest in him, right? Because the idea of getting people to agree with you when you have nothing to show for it as yet is, for me, the most powerful thing. And I think it just ties very well into
he didn't always get it right. He got turned down a lot.
Yeah.
But he had such perseverance. I think what we need to realize is that a lot of these charismatic people, they have some common traits. The one thing is that they are very persuasive. They are very convincing. They persevere. They're often good speakers. They're often people that have gone through hardship and have struggled through hardship. They have all these qualities, and all of them have those qualities.
I think we will leave it there for now. Mr. Paul, thank you so much for joining us. This has been fruitful. Cannot wait to unpack part 5.
Me neither.
The voice there of Paul du Toit, the author of the Book of Persuasion, how to build, or rather how you can change people's minds and influence their decisions while building trust. If you are looking to purchase the book, please do head over to presentationskills.co.za/shop.
Este é o Caleidoscópio de Canal África, com Remo Samo e João Yabalá.
Moçambique prepara-se para a chegada do